What's going on, everyone? My name's Teejay Moore. I'm a graphic designer, and today I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on creating simple three-dimensional designs using Adobe Dimensions. Once you got Adobe Dimensions opened up, you can go ahead and just see your assets, which is a really simple panel, which are going to be the tools that you're going to be able to have options for manipulating three-dimensional objects. What I really love about Adobe Dimensions that some people I know may not like, but what I find really valuable when just starting out, is that they keep a very simple library of assets that you're able to use and manipulate, compared to Cinema 4D when you can almost create anything. It's a great entryway in creating three-dimensional designs because you're not going to be overwhelmed with a ton of different objects. So as you can see, we just have cube, text, sphere, torus, cone, plane, and a couple of other objects, but these are going to be your simple geometric shapes, which you're going to be able to manipulate as you please, and just be able to create something cool and really simple, but also see how creative you can get. So one of my favorite things to do when I'm creating a three-dimensional design or design in general, is just to find an image online and just try and recreate it. So I found this really cool image, and we're just going to try and mess around with stuff and make something of it. So referencing our image, the first thing I see is a rectangle. So I'm going to delete that. We're going to go ahead and just bring in the cube shape and manipulate it. So the best thing about it is learning the shortcut keys. So you're going to have, these are going to be your moving objects. These are going to be your scale, so hit S. What we're going to be able to do is stretch it, rescale objects that we want. You can push it in space, rotate it, bring it in all different directions. It's pretty awesome. But right now we're just going to focus on creating the composition. So we have a rectangle here. Go ahead and create another one. One of my favorite things to do is see how the shadows line up. Actually, we're going to go a little bit down, stretch it out. It's pretty easy to get the hang of. The controls are pretty simple, similar to Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. It's just kind of the maneuvering around creating a three-dimensional space, which usually takes a little bit of time. But what I will say about this program, which makes it nice but at the same time can be part of its fault, is that because it's so simple, you do have a limited amount of tools in which you have access to, such as merging together objects like these. Like, see how I'm just using three rectangles? They're going to be three rectangles, or as you can see in my layers panel, three cubes. I can't merge them to become one, even if I group them together. But that's just something you kind of got to maneuver around. So I like those. That's going to be our one shape. I'm going to go ahead and group those together. The next, we're going to bring the torus in. What's nice is you just have all your panels here, which I really enjoy. You just simply manipulate it. Something like that. That's too big. That's kind of cool. And you can also move your camera around so you can see the whole space. But what's nice when you're copying images, you just kind of know what you want and just stick to it. You can see this program, it's great for if you're doing packaging projects or simple sceneries. They have a ton of different assets. I wouldn't say a ton, but they have a solid selection. But what's great is if you find other three-dimensional things online, um, such as there's different libraries, you can find like different OBJ objects. You can just import them, and it's pretty straightforward. So rotate. Let's go a little more dramatic. You can see how weird it is, like moving objects. Takes a little getting used to. Let's do something like that. Excuse me. Alright, let's keep messing around. See the picture. Alright, so yeah, as I said, like you can't, the pain is you can't really like merge shapes together. But what I've learned to do is when you export your render, just take it in Photoshop and just try and keep it as simple as possible. But you know that's a pretty easy cleanup if you know what you're doing. Right, it's not too shabby. It's doable. Kind of looks like our picture. Alright, so the next best part about creating 3 dimensions is you have a ton of really awesome materials. You can just go and throw in all your shapes. It'll kind of make it, it throws on a temporary filter to kind of give you a slight preview, but if you go in the top right hand, you can see a render preview. which will just load in. So I click through the glass on that block, and you can kind of see how it comes out, just so you can get a picture. And the big thing is trying to tell lighting, because lighting is really important when you're working in 3D. So I'm going to go ahead. One thing as well, when you're just adding multiple, or when you're adding materials on, is especially when I have a shape that's made out of multiple shapes, you kind of have to be careful, and you are limited to some of the materials that you can use until they update merging shapes. But you can see, I guess it's actually working, is it sometimes the material will look really different, and it's going to be really hard to blend them together. They kind of clash and look like you can just totally tell the difference. Let's see if it will come out in the render. And that took a little bit. But what I like to do when I'm picking materials, especially when it's multiple shapes, is like pick something kind of busy. So it's kind of hard to find a scene. So I'm going to do this veined marble. And I'll wait for it to load. Yeah. Or to unclick the render when you're working, it's going to speed up the process. But when you have your each individual shape selected, and you have your material over here, you can edit some of the effects on the material itself. So if you want bigger cracks or the density of the cracks, it'll all change, but you do want to go more into your render preview when you are editing those, just so you can actually see the details that you're making adjustments to. See, that actually looks cool. That. Let's bring that brush steel. Make it seem like one of those sleep animations that they always do with 3D stuff. So for this, I'm going to. So you have to open up different menus. Brush aluminum. Bring the brush density down. Let's rotate it a little bit. Let's take some of the roughness out. Concrete. And some more earth. Then what you can do as well is you can edit all the colors of the material. So let's say I want it like blue. I'm not going to do anything this crazy, but just so you kind of get the dramatic effect. Comes in blue. And that's another thing though, when you're working in designing in 3 dimensions and in general doing rendering, like if you do edit videos, you know this, but just you have to be patient. Computer takes time, and as technology advances, we're going to have opportunities to be able to see things quicker, like this program offers. But in the meantime, try to be patient. So I'm going to take the blue out. pinwheel. Okay. This in up a little bit. Alright, and the next big thing that you should always add to all of your renderings just to make them feel a little more realistic is some sort of lighting. Lighting, you can get very specific, even in this program, on how you adjust and edit things. But just for the time being, we're just gonna just do something really simple that allows you just kind of get a brief introduction. But like the materials, you have all these different presets that you can just drag and drop into the space. I recommend turning on a rendering preview so you can kind of get an idea. Like, that's already looking pretty sleek. Do this one. That's looking pretty nice. I like that yellow that's coming in. Another really cool feature is, so when you go to the render, you have your design menu right here and your render menu. You can set presets for your camera. So if I want one here, just hit add, view one. And then let's say we want one like here for some reason. Add another. And then, now that we're kind of getting to the final stages, as you get to your export, you have all your different views, which you can just go ahead and select which ones you want to render. Name them, let's call this test design, and you can select the quality that you want them in. As well, you can do a Photoshop and a PNG. I usually just do the PNG. This Photoshop, so there's a bunch of different layers that it kind of just gets a little annoying. So we're just going to do the PNG. And then basically, once you have it rendered, you're just going to bring it into Photoshop and edit it until you feel like it's where you want it to be. But overall, this is just an introductory into three-dimensional design, and it's meant for you to be able to learn and mess around with as your own. I hope that you learned something from this, and I hope that you can take something and maybe even teach me. So go ahead and mess around with this. Feel free to tag NoSpace. Send us your images. We'd love to check them out. Or even feel free to just mess around with it and make some cool stuff. So thank you so much if you made it through this far into the video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you around. Thank you.